Kau share screen tak? Nampak?
Dah. Nampak. Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dan salam sejahtera, selamat petang. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Rabbi syrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Alhamdulillah, kita bertemu kembali dalam program webinar series 2 Maestro at UMK on e-learning 2021, MoEL 2021, yang bertemakan Empowering Student Engagement via eCampus. Bersama kita pada petang ini saudara Nik Ahmad Farhan bin Azim atau Nik Azim, yang merupakan guru bahasa Inggeris Fakulti Pengajian Bahasa dan Pembangunan Insan Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, yang juga merupakan seorang yang tidak asing lagi warga UMK, merupakan seorang pengacara majlis yang terkenal UMK dalam majlis yang berprestij anjuran Universiti Malaysia Kelantan, bahkan di sekitar negeri Kelantan. Okey, insya-Allah pada petang ini Encik Farhan kita akan berkongsi berkaitan dengan pelaksanaan penggunaan eCampus sebagai salah satu platform pengajaran dan pembelajaran bahasa Inggeris di Universiti Malaysia Kelantan melalui satu peralatan web ataupun web tools annotation. Web tools annotation tools for evaluation and feedback. Oleh kerana Encik Ahmad Farhan merupakan seorang guru bahasa Inggeris, dia banyak menggunakan annotation tools untuk menyemak, memeriksa kerja-kerja yang dihantar oleh para pelajar, khususnya mungkin berkaitan dengan penulisan karangan ataupun esei bahasa Inggeris. Oleh kerana eCampus UMK juga telah diintegratekan dengan PDF annotation tools, memudahkan para pensyarah untuk terus membuat penilaian, pemeriksaan dan komen secara langsung melalui platform eCampus. Tanpa membuang masa, saya dengan ini menjemput dan mempersilakan yang berusaha Encik Ahmad Farhan, Nik Ahmad Farhan bin Azim, guru bahasa Inggeris Fakulti Pengajian Bahasa dan Pembangunan Insan, untuk berkongsi pengalaman, berkongsi ideas berkenaan dengan penggunaan annotation tools for evaluation and feedback. Dengan segala hormatnya dipersilakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Terima kasih kepada Ustaz Wan atas pengenalan sesi itu tadi. Jadi saya izinkan saya untuk memulakan webinar ini dalam dua bahasa, insya-Allah. Saya akan cuba di situ. Myself is I'm Farhan, so currently senior language teacher di FBI UMK. Dan pada hari ini saya akan berkongsi dengan rakan-rakan semua mengenai satu tool yang saya rasa masih lagi being undervalued, underused probably by many of us in UMK, which is the annotation tool, which I think is a superb tool, which is actually a built-in tool already in eCampus. So sama ada kita realise atau tak realise itu saja. So what is so special about this tool? We are going to take a look within this 1 hour, inshallah. Now, this webinar is for us to for me to share with you the relationship between assessment, feedback, and also feedback, which these go symbiotically, I think. One of the major problems or one of the major challenges in assessment is giving feedback. And today, perhaps, I will share with you how could we control them and to minimize the challenges that probably some of you may now face. And towards the end of the webinar today, we will look at how we build up the assessment and use annotation as part of the feedback and evaluation system on eCampus, inshallah. My apology for not being able probably later on to show you on the screen, because we do have technical glitch that we are unable to share screen or iPad screen, but I'll try to do as best as I can, inshallah, later on. Now, when we talk about assessment, particularly with regards to summative or formative evaluation, we cannot run away from the idea of feedback. And of course, there are empirical studies done everywhere looking at what are the ideas and purposes of feedback. And these are some of the purposes that probably some of us are well aware of. We know the fact that feedback is really important, but the question now is how much we have done as far as feedback is concerned onto the students. Of course, we know that feedback is a platform where we could identify strengths and weaknesses of the students, not just correcting their errors. And of course, this series of strengths and weaknesses which we found based on the feedback could be used to improve, to further improve students' performance. And eventually, somehow, that will sort of build up students' confidence towards the end. Now, this webinar today, I will focus more on the formative ideas of assessment, simply because feedback is closely related to that. However, I would also emphasize on the idea of summative as well, because I found that this annotation tool also work on summative assessment and summatively. But of course, there are limitations to that, which we are going to discuss in a bit. At the very beginning of a few minutes ago, I talked about the challenges that many of us as educators are currently facing. Because why? Because there's a lot of lack of transparency happening as far as the evaluation and feedback system is concerned. However, as we move on to really understand and value what evaluation is about, we now, as far as the assignment is concerned, before you give the assessment to students, you normally give them the attainable goal and objectives. And these are the sets of attainable goal and objective that they have to achieve at the end of the evaluation itself. So many of us do that, I believe. But the question now is obviously remain as to the feedback itself, because normally we don't quite give the feedback, or even if we give a feedback, there are other challenges that comes with it. And one of them is because we are committed onto other things apart from marking student assignment, of course, and sometimes that could lead to a delayed feedback. And time constraint is one of the major issues that happen to many educators worldwide. And because of that, we tend to lambat sikit give the feedback to students. And sometimes because we terkejar-kejar to give feedback, sometimes the feedback can be in the form of just a simple sentence saying that, all right, you did a good job. However, there are elements that you have to improve, for example. So that kind of feedback dah lambat, sometimes kita bagi dia lambat the feedback itu sendiri, tapi kadang-kadang apa yang kita bagi itu sendiri pun kadang-kadang a bit fuzzy and it comes very less informative, and that is being categorized as a low quality feedback. Okay, good job. Itu sahaja yang diberikan dalam probably dalam feedback kita, ataupun you could improve further. Itu adalah notation on remarks where you give onto the assignment, on students' assignment. So it will be very fuzzy, and of course students may find it rather less informative. And kalau dah less informative, obviously student pun takkan rasa macam alah ini je ke yang diberikan sebagai remark as to what I did for the past few weeks. So agak mungkin student pun rasa agak kecewa juga di situ. And the other challenge is that there's no follow up to the feedback itself. Sometimes kita bagi students feedback, tapi there was no follow up to that. And obviously the whole thing does not have a good provision at all, because once we give feedback, we sort of need to follow up from the feedback, whether as far as the formative assessment is concerned, we need to do a follow up. And of course, again, challenges ini again bersifat simbiotik. Semuanya ada masalah kekangan masa. Kadang-kadang kita nak bagi feedback itu pun lambat. Apabila kita bagi feedback, sometimes feedback itu pun tak berapa nak informatif sangat. So student pun akan rasa macam alah ini je ke. And then lepas daripada itu tak ada. Most of the time, when we give feedback, okay, that's it. You see, that's it. I'm not going to go anymore. Yang paling the best that I've seen so far was, okay, mungkin dalam 2-3 kelas yang kita ajar, mungkin ada yang students yang dah dah dapat feedback kita kali pertama, adalah 2-3 individuals that came back to us and would ask us again what are the improvement that we should make and we would make to attain the goal at the end of the lesson nanti. So mungkin ada a few, and these challenges have proved to be rather semakin susah because now we have this the pandemic itself. Yang pre-pandemic time, it used to be difficult enough, but now it comes to the greater extent that the COVID has now changes the landscape of education totally. But the question now is that, is COVID-19 a blessing in disguise? To be honest, I think it is, because we have now shifted from what we think was inevitably something yang kita tak boleh buat konon-kononnya sebelum ini. Konon-kononnya kita rasa macam alamak, dah ada pandemic, everything is done remotely. What about the assessment and evaluation? Oh, alamak, semua nak guna, macam mana kita nak bagi feedback to student? And these are the questions that we keep on asking ourselves because we are in a different geographical location, transcending different time zone probably. So these are set of challenge that potentially, what Moodle could assist us on to. All right. So as far as the Moodle or eCampus is concerned, because our eCampus are using Moodle system as well, I think Moodle is doing a great job as far as assisting lecturers to minimize the problems or the set of challenges that I have mentioned earlier on. Kita dapat minimalkan problem itu sendiri. And for the very existence of the annotation tool, I found it really extremely helpful, as specifically for language assessment, particularly. But I can also think of a few other assessments which could also beneficial from this tool. That includes mana-mana assessment dekat mana-mana subjek yang memerlukan functions annotation, where you can draw, you can scribble. There are so many wonderful things that you could do on annotation tool. Right. So this is a feedback cycle on annotation tool, which I think describe what annotation tool on eCampus is about. So once the students submitted their assignment, we start to evaluate them and then eventually award them with grade. Now, summatively, it will stop there. Obviously, in the final exam, it will definitely stop there. Like I said earlier on, my focus today on this webinar is to look at the idea of assessment formatively. Therefore, after grades has been awarded, perhaps there would be a series of feedback that goes to the students. And essentially, when it comes to formative assessment, of course, despite the fact some of them would have achieved satisfactory level, they would still need some kind of feedback, because obviously formative works that way. And sementalahnya lagi, kalau student yang attain non-satisfactory achievement, non-satisfactory level of the assignment, of course, diorang akan receive juga feedback. And either way, resubmission can be allowed. Of course, this is due to the improvisation purposes, and then the cycle continues and continues again and again. So masalah, let me just go straight to the problem before we go on to the advantages of this thing. Now, one of the things that I found after using this for a number of semesters is that annotation tool ini hanya berada pada assignment sahaja. So, saya rasakan kalau annotation tool ini berada di tool quiz, for example, ya, di mana mungkin ada di kalangan kita yang menggunakan function quiz di eCampus untuk for the final assessment, for the final exam nanti, mungkin ada yang menggunakan function quiz. The problem is, dalam function quiz itu tidak ada annotation tool bersama. Itu saja dia punya downside lah of annotation tool. But apart from that, the annotation tool, which is now embedded in the assignment function, works very extremely well as far as my experience is concerned. Now, we will go right away to the assessment in which I will get you to see, give me a few seconds there. Right. So I'm very sure at this point of time, all of us are very much aware on how do we set up the assignment submission that basically describe what this annotation tool is about. So you basically have just got to choose this assignment function. The one that I mentioned earlier about the quiz, in which some of us probably are now using quiz function for the final exam or for the final assessment in week 14, 15. This is the only downside, which is tidak ada annotation tool dekat quiz. Itu saja problemnya. Yang ada annotation tool hanya dekat assignment. So that's a tricky part. Probably kita punya expert boleh tengokkan macam mana lah kod-kodnya boleh embed sekali annotation dalam quiz. That would be great. Yeah. So kita choose saja assignment. So I'm going to walk you through on how do we set up what do you call it, the assignment function here. I'm going to put it here, demo 2. Of course, you could put all the description as you wish. My focus today is on 3 sections. So this is one of the section. So submission type, click it onto file submission, all right? And then you will see that the accepted files, you could actually choose from various files there. Now, based on the experience, sometimes kita minta student hantar dalam bentuk PDF, ya, tapi ada juga yang kadang-kadang terlepas dihantar dalam bentuk Words atau other types of file. So nak selamat sebenarnya you could just simply use all file types. Itu yang paling senang lah. I think many would have known this by now. Tapi kalau kita nak set pun tak ada masalah. But I always found a few souls who didn't find their way as far as the submission of the assignment is concerned. Ada juga yang akan confirm hantar dalam file lain selain daripada apa yang kita minta. Once that thing has been set, now this is the real stuff here, the real part there. So you click on the feedback types and then you just simply click on the box, then this tiny box on the Annotate Pdf. If you do not click this thing, then the tool will not appear during the grading session later on. And you could click on the Annotate Pdf. You could click on the feedback comments. I disable offline grading worksheet because I do not want to use offline grading worksheet just yet, because I'm going to talk about that in a bit. And of course, the feedback files, this is important as well, because, you know, sometimes kita tak rajin sangat nak type, kita tak rajin sangat nak tulis, kan? Ada teknik, I will walk you through later on, apa yang kita boleh buat kalau kita malas nak type feedback itu, atau kita malas nak tulis. Yang ada iPad yang boleh gunakan scratchpad, boleh boleh annotate, tu lagi simple lah. Tapi imagine kalau tak ada apa-apa, tak ada all these tools to assist you on giving feedback easily, itu challenges jugalah. Tapi kita akan tengok nanti apa yang kita boleh buat about that. And also another important thing on this page is this. I tak sure berapa ramai yang dah tahu, tapi kita try to look onto this thing because I found it rather helpful. Now, contoh assignment yang kita gunakan points. So the maximum is actually 40 points. And the grading method that I'm going to use here is rubric. Kalau kita tak klik apa-apa dekat sini, by default dia akan jadi simple direct grading, in which you will just have I'm talking about marking assignment masa pandemic. So satu screen, kita tengok screen on the computer, and then tepi ni ada, kita letak apa tu, marking rubric dekat tepi. So tengok marking rubric, and then tengok student punya assignment. Tengok rubric, tengok assignment, tengok rubric, tengok assignment. Penat macam tu. So kita boleh gunakan rubric dalam ni. So it's very easy. I'm going to show you in a bit. So kita tekan saja rubric dekat sini. Alright. So grade category, we'll put it as the default one, uncategorized. Grade to pass pun boleh letakkan sebagai kosong saja, tak ada masalah, sebab kita tak gunakan apa nama ni, assessment what do you call it, grade book dalam eCampus. Kita tak gunakan tu, kita macam manual biasa lagi. Blind marking, you could actually do blind marking, but so far I have not quite change this one, because I'm just going to, because it's just me who mark this thing. I think this would be helpful as far as the final exam is concerned. So as far as English department in FBI is concerned, there's only one course yang menggunakan assignment function untuk final exam nanti, academic reading and writing. The rest of the subject in English department are using the quiz function. So boleh juga diconsiderkan untuk blind marking. Kalau kata ada multiple marker, first examiner or the second examiner, we could use that. But we have to look onto that more, mungkin not now, right? So I'm not going to touch base on that one first. And also high grade identity from students, ni boleh juga nak letakkan yes, tak ada masalah. I just want to put it as a default term there. Okay, so my focus now is on the grading method today, which is going to be on the rubric. So once you set everything, and then dah set yang tempat lain lah, activity completion, you just set everything nicely, and then you tekan saja save and display. So once that happens, you will be directed to another window in which you have to choose between define new grading form from scratch, or you could also use your pre-existing template. But this one has to follow certain format. So the one on the right, creating new grading template, creating new grading form from a template, I'm not going to touch base on that, because that would take quite a lot of time to just got the template alone. But today, I'm just going to look at the idea, very simple format as to how kita nak buat grading ini sendiri. Okay, so I already have mine, which I have prepared earlier. Just very quickly show you. Just hanging there for a moment. Tak ada masalah. We're going to choose everything, save and display. Doesn't go that way. Let me just very quickly go one more time. Start saving grade. Rubric, and then save and display. You will be directed to choose either one of this, and then you would type down here, all right, rubric, whatever name your rubric is, and then you will see there's a section where you could add the criterion and also how many level you would wish for based on whatever rubrics that you already have. So now you have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, you can type it there, 0.3, no worries. And then you can start to add criterion. So criterion is probably the one, the set of criteria in which you are going to grade and assess your students. For example, in my case, I would look at the idea of content, and then another criterion, at the idea of organization, and perhaps you would look at the idea of grammar as far as the English essay is concerned. So you do have levels seperti yang you dah ada sekarang lah. So you could say something like whatever descriptors that you have with you. So you just type down all the descriptors as far as the 0 point is concerned. And for each descriptors, obviously you would have each descriptors, of course, you look at the content, matured content, contents are being displayed. For example, for them, for the students to attain 3 points, this is the set of criterion that they have to fulfill. And obviously, it will downgrade as much as the point becomes less and less. And here you could rename the point as you wish, whatever name that you would like to give. So these are the set of content. So once you are satisfied with this rubric, with the set of rubric, you just basically copy paste the rubric that you already have into this set of rubric system, and then you just simply save the rubric and make it ready. Now, there's a few issues here because I don't really key in the definition as much as they want, but I'm going to walk you on to what I already have here on the Annotate testing. Now, this is the page, very familiar page. Everyone knows this. And then you click all the submission, and then you will see all the submission as listed. And then one thing that you will realize is that there is the part on the right. As you scroll to the right, you will see that there's an Annotate PDF. So if you do not choose the Annotate earlier, if you do not click on the box, this will not appear, and then you will not see anything coming up right here. Now, I'm going to show you one sample here that I've already done earlier. So when we set the grade, remember the grade that we have set earlier on, it will appear here on as you scroll down on the right side. So these are set of rubrics yang kita ada. Now, tadi kalau perasan masa kita set the rubric, kita gunakan single pointer, meaning there's no point range. The problem to some assignment is that dia gunakan range system on the points. Macam mana nak overcome that issue? Yes, tidak ada cara untuk overcome that issue menggunakan tool ini. Ya, sebab biasanya kalau kita letak tadi sebagai point 5 for example, dia akan solid bagi point 5. Walaupun the range would be from 1 to 5 for example. Kita tak boleh nak bagi 3, kita tak boleh nak bagi 2, kita tak boleh nak bagi 1 for example. Kalau ada range, dia hanya work on the single point. However, there's a trick to that. Kalau kata kita work on the range of the marks, what you could do is actually copy paste sahaja yang range itu sama, and then you letakkan sebagai, kalau ada sampai 5 point dalam range tu, kita buatkan 5 section. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kenapa kita buat macam tu? Sebab untuk marking nanti dia lagi senang. Contoh apa yang saya ada dekat sini, saya gunakan single point lah, because that is how yang by default untuk grading ini sendiri. So kalau kita tekan 10 dekat sini, kita tekan for example what I have here, grammar is 5, content is 10, and then organization is 5, that would straight away give dia akan add terus the mark and dia akan appear dekat luar tu tadi. So katakan kita dah tekan buat changes tadi, kita save change, and then kita pergi balik dekat yang the viewing all the submission, and then you will see right away then the marks is now appeared here. So tak perlu lagi lah kita nak add up manually ke apa. So that would do the trick. And I found it really helpful because you don't have to do it manually, and that definitely takes time for you to do so. Now earlier on, I mentioned the idea of kadang-kadang kita tak cukup masa, banyak problem, kita nak banyak benda nak buat, maybe tak cukup masa apa semua. Nah, kalau you tengok dekat on the screen right now, so don't worry, because sometimes kalau when it comes to annotate, alamak tak keluar apa-apa dekat screen. Is it the right thing? Well, you look at this thing, so it's actually page 1 of 2. Maybe it appears on the second page. Kadang-kadang tu dia akan stretch, kalau assignment tu banyak pages, dia akan stretch sampai to 15 pages. Kadang-kadang some pages are missing. I don't know why, maybe it's just a tech glitch that happens with this thing. But try to ambil saja mana-mana. Ini hanyalah sample ya. I ask my students to give me samples, whatever PDF file that they have with them, just put it there. So these are the amazing part of annotation too. As the name suggests, annotate, meaning you could actually scribble, underline, square, do whatever you want, because it's very much flexible. You could write down a few things there, which I've already written there. You could actually circle things up. You could actually add up notes if you want. So just say formula isn't correct, and then it will be there. And of course, you could highlight a few things if you want. There's so many wonderful things that you could do. In fact, if this formula is obtained somewhere, and then you wanted to tell your students, you might want to look onto the formula again, you could also attach a link to this particular formula, for example. All right, so this is a very wonderful stuff that Annotate provides us with. Now, this thing, tadi I cakap earlier on that kita kadang-kadang that one of the challenges is that tak ada masa, delay feedback. And kalau kita bagi feedback tu pula terlampau simple, and sometimes the what do you call it, the message that goes across is rather fuzzy, and student couldn't really understand what are you trying to say. Is what I'm doing now correct, or is it not? So sometimes nak tulis tu, alamak, nak type tu banyak sangat lah kan. So that's why kadang-kadang as far as the challenges is concerned, kita pun tulis lah good job, paling simple lah. Tapi one amazing thing about annotation tool is that kalau kata kita malas nak type, kita tak nak type, bukan malas lah, malas is a bad word to use. Maybe kalau kita rasa tak sempat untuk kita type, you can actually use this function, which I found it really helpful. You could start recording and say whatever that you wanted to say verbally. So it's really amazing. You could just simply click on the start record, and the recording will go for 2 minutes. So that would be the maximum. So you just say whatever that you wanted to say, and then stop recording, and then attach to this particular assessment, attach to this particular section. And then katakan sometimes maybe verbal response is not enough. Maybe you wanted to stress out how important the feedback is by having yourself on the screen. You could also record yourself on the video. So just start on the recording, and then you could record yourself and tell the students how good they are, how good their assignment are, or how bad the assignment are. But you need to show it on the screen. That's fine. So the same thing happens to the audio recording. It works for 2 minutes as well. So you could stop recording and attach the video recording too. So I found this really extremely helpful. Yeah. So katakan ada lagi kita nak benda yang kita nak komen, ataupun kita nak minta student tengok some file, or maybe there's a good journal that you want to introduce as per the topic that they have done on the assignment. Katakan ada journal yang you nak share with the students, you can actually drag and drop all the files here on the file section. Remember earlier on, masa kita create the assignment function itu tadi, kita ada tick dekat files, additional file. So this is a function. You could put all the files here, PDF, whatever. The audio file, the video file, PDF file, documents file in general. You could put everything and anything in there. So, apa yang excited sangat pasal annotation tool ni? Of course, it answers all the challenges. Given the fact that those challenges are now within our reach as far as how do we overcome those set of challenges, I do believe that annotation tool that is already readily available on our eCampus can help to overcome it. Probably not to solve the issue 100%, but at least overcome it to a certain extent, to have quite a high degree of solutions there. Now, apabila kita dah siap semua benda ni, we can actually save that up, and then another amazing thing about this is that you can actually notify the student by just clicking on at the bottom there, the box, the tiny box of notify students. Click on there, and then save changes, or you could just save and show next, so it doesn't matter. So once you notify the student, maknanya student akan dapat notification that we have graded them on eCampus. So once that happens, obviously students can take a look at what have they got so far and apa yang kita evaluate, what are the feedback, what are the set of feedbacks that we have already given them. Now, given the idea of formative assessment, this is a cycle that we have looked earlier on, whereby the idea of resubmission is allowed, because we want them to achieve the attainable objective of this set of assignment. Itu kita punya set of aim. So kalau kita buat macam ini, kita bukan sahaja dapat complete the cycle, tetapi juga dalam masa kekangan, dalam kekangan yang kita ada sekarang ini, untuk kata tadi banyak tak ada banyak masa, macam mana nak hantar, nak bagi, how do we evaluate as far as that now we are in the pandemic time. It's difficult for us to sort of like sending emails to everyone as far as the assignment is concerned. Kita rasa agak sukar di situ, tetapi dengan adanya sistem Annotate yang memang sememangnya sudah readily available, I don't think Annotate is actually a free tool. Kalau tak silap saya, correct me if I'm wrong, Annotate is actually, we actually pay for this tool, but since kita dah ada Annotate dalam kita punya eCampus system, why not? I think this is the best solution, if not one of the best way to go about to, as far as the evaluation is concerned. Mungkin ramai di antara kita yang tak mampu untuk evaluate, untuk bagi evaluation, a good set of evaluation due to the challenges that I have mentioned earlier on. And perhaps this is one of the, it's like a quick run solution for the evaluation itself. Yeah, so I think it's very straightforward. It's simple and straightforward as far as the assessment is concerned. And I do mention earlier about the idea of summative assessment as well, to be able to be used, to enable it to be used with annotation too. Unfortunately, also I mentioned earlier, jika yang kita hanya boleh gunakan tool ini dalam assignment function. Kalau kata kita gunakan assignment function untuk final exam nanti, mungkin kita boleh gunakan annotation tool. Tapi kalau the final exam kita set menggunakan quiz function dalam eCampus, maka kita tak dapat nak menggunakan annotation tool ini. Mungkin somebody has to do something about it perhaps. So that's beyond our control, of course. Yes, I think that's about it as far as the demo is concerned. I don't mind if I would take any questions or any recommendation. Perhaps some of us have used this before and you find it, there are certain elements that I have not mentioned and perhaps you find it rather helpful. If we were to share this now, please, I do welcome that.
Okay, thank you Mr. Encik Farhan di atas perkongsian yang sangat menarik berkaitan dengan penggunaan annotation tools dalam assignment ataupun tugasan menggunakan eCampus yang telah diintegrasikan dalam sistem, kita punya sistem eCampus. Namun bukan sahaja penggunaan Encik Farhan juga menunjukkan satu benda yang jarang-jarang digunakan oleh para pensyarah, iaitu bagaimana untuk kita set upkan rubrik penilaian secara automated, rubrik secara menggunakan rubrik dalam eCampus bagi pelaksanaan assignment khususnya. Dan seperti mana juga cadangan Encik Farhan tadi berkaitan dengan sekiranya annotation tools ini boleh di-embedkan, boleh diintegrasikan ke dalam sistem kuis ataupun ujian, itu menjadi satu perkara yang menarik, dan insya-Allah kita di peringkat PKPA akan melihat perkara ini secara lebih mendalam berkaitan dengan cadangan ini, kerana inilah perkara yang sangat kita perlukan, iaitu input daripada rakan-rakan akademik tentang pelaksanaan penggunaan eCampus secara dengan lebih maksimal, khususnya dalam situasi pandemik COVID-19 ini. Kita tidak mampu untuk bertemu pelajar, dan khususnya pembelajaran bahasa Inggeris khususnya, kita perlukan melihat perkembangan penulisan pelajar itu from time to time, kan. Dia improvement from mungkin daripada awal kelas hingga ke akhir kelas, di mana kesalahan kita perlu melihat. Bukan sahaja untuk pembelajaran bahasa, bahkan perkara ini boleh digunakan kepada rakan-rakan pensyarah yang terlibat dengan tugasan assignment ataupun final year project, penulisan thesis, apa sahaja. Namun perlu ada kreativiti, perlu ada sedikit pengorbanan, khususnya perlu ada stylish ataupun pen, iPad punya pen itu, kan, perlu adanya iPad dan sebagainya. Itu menunjukkan satu perkara yang bahawa eCampus kita ini telah pun bersedia menyediakan servis kepada rakan-rakan pensyarah dalam memudahkan proses penilaian dan juga pemarkahan secara dalam talian, tanpa perlu print assignment pelajar satu persatu. Bayangkan kalau satu kursus ada 3-4 tugasan pensyarah perlu print. Jadi kita boleh gunakan Go Green di situ, pelaksanaan Go Green tanpa membazirkan kertas-kertas di situ, dan feedback terus kepada pelajar. Okay, saya rasa kalau sekiranya saya boleh lihat kepada rata-rata komen Encik Farhan memberikan input yang ini pun satu perkongsian yang sangat menarik kepada kita. Kerana memang jarang orang tahu dan jarang orang nak guna. Kerana mungkin perasaan takut ke, kan.
Saya rasa most of the time kita rasa benda ni adalah simple, tak ada masalah lah. Kita just guna teknik biasa, teknik yang lama yang kita dah buat selama ni. Cuma macam Ustaz Wan kata tadi lah, kita bukan sahaja tengok dari sisi macam Ustaz Wan kata go green. So sebenarnya benda ni function tool ini killing two birds with one stone je. Sebabnya paling penting here, sebab tu saya try to relatekan at the very beginning tadi pasal evaluation, sebab kita ada isu dengan evaluation daripada dulu sampai sekarang, in which kita jarang sekali ada provision on evaluation itself. Kalau setakat kita bagi good job, okay great, this is good, you need more improvement here and there. So it's not quite a feedback that students want, and that's already a layer of challenge or a layer of issue. Second layer would be getting the feedback on the right time at the right platform to the students. Itu provide the second layer. So all in all, tool ini sangatlah extremely good because dia boleh somehow selesaikan overcome this set of challenge. Bukan sahaja satu challenge yang kita hadapi pada hari ini, kita juga banyak lagi challenge yang kita terpaksa hadapi. And of course, the pandemic has showed us that we should be and we have transcend over time, because this platform has helped us tremendously as far as the evaluation and feedback is concerned.
Okay, nice Encik Farhan. Ada satu soalan daripada rakan-rakan akademik kita, daripada Ahmad Zaki Amiruddin. Ini orang yang tidak asing lagi dalam kita punya di UMK dan juga dalam antara expert eCampus. Jadi antara soalan dia, rubrik yang dibangunkan bolehkah save as template and share with other lecturers? That's mean kalau untuk kita set up dalam satu kelas itu, boleh tak kita share kepada pensyarah-pensyarah lain?
Yang itu saya pun belum lagi cuba that part, tapi saya jangkakan kalau kita boleh letakkan dalam instructor punya page, kalau macam subjek saya, unit saya ada instructor page whereby kita set the assessment as such that everyone follow the same structure. So saya kira pada firasat saya sekarang ni boleh dan mampu dilakukan, InsyaAllah. Tapi itu kena kita tengok baliklah macam mana perincian dia as far as kita nak gunakan existing template to be used for all instructors, for example. Yeah.
Okay, thank you menjawab soalan. Dan mungkin kalau saya boleh tambah sikit berkaitan dengan soalan daripada Ustaz Zaki, function import dan export lah berlaku kepada dalam Moodle itu. Mungkin seorang koordinator ataupun kita boleh bagi akses kepada rakan-rakan teman akademik yang lain untuk import bahan ataupun template kita itu daripada kursus yang telah ditetapkan.
Betul.
Okey, mungkin ada lagi tambahan soalan lain. Ada jawapan lagi?
Sebelum tu saya nak tambah mungkin sebab ada sebelum ni saya pernah mengikuti kursus bersama PPA dan ada juga beberapa koordinator yang orang kata tak realise yang kita boleh minta PKPA untuk sediakan satu instructor page di mana kita ada a common page for every instructors to access all the materials and the assessment functions. So kita boleh buat benda yang sama. So kalau macam ada yang dah ada dekat sini, kita boleh je letak di mana-mana week yang kita nak untuk assignment itu, on that particular assignment lah. So tak ada masalah. So insyaAllah that is something viable and feasible at the same time.
Okay, kita melihat bila menjadi seorang penyelaras kursus ini, bayangkanlah dekat page dia tu kalau ada 50 kelas, deretan 50 kelas, penyelaras perlu pantau satu persatu. Jadi mungkin idea tambahan untuk ada satu page khas khusus untuk penyelaras dan boleh dilihat oleh rakan-rakan pensyarah lain untuk mendapatkan bahan-bahan tanpa membebankan para penyelaras untuk perlu export ataupun perlu agihkan kepada kelas-kelas rakan-rakan pensyarah yang lain. Okey, itu idea yang menarik. Ada lagi daripada Puan Liana Ahmad, tambahan kepada soalan Ustaz Zaki, bolehkah koordinator share kepada semua tenaga pengajar atau perlu dilakukan secara individual? Ini soalan ni seperti mana saya jawab tadi, boleh, cuma Cik Farhan mungkin nak tambah. Selaku orang yang berpengalaman sebagai koordinator.
Kita kena make sure benda itu sebelum mana-mana student submit assignment tu, kita kena setkan benda tu dulu. So once kita dah, contohnya tadi dekat instructor page, kita dah set untuk submission of that particular assignment. So make sure every single grade, kalau nak gunakan yang existing template ke atau nak gunakan simple template yang macam kita buat sebentar tadi pun, it's really up to you. Whichever way that is, we have to make sure that that is already there before students submit the assignment. I takut nanti kalau dah submit assignment ada kita terperasan, alamak ada satu criterion tu salah, kita nak tukar. Boleh ke tak boleh? Boleh, tapi dia agak leceh dekat situ sebab we are dealing with technology at the same time. That is something that is beyond our prerogative, and sometimes we need assistance from the experts, and obviously the experts knows more than I do and we do. And to make it line out well, we have to make sure that this thing is been done, is been carried out first. So it's some kind of a preemptive measure that we should be taking way before students submit the assignment.
Ya, betul. Saya setuju dengan Cik Farhan. Itulah yang perlu dilakukan oleh koordinator khusus bagi memastikan ada persetujuan dan ada keseragaman dalam melaksanakan assessment. Dan perkara itu sebenarnya perlu bukan sahaja peranan koordinator, bahkan peranan rakan-rakan pensyarah juga untuk mainkan peranan supaya memastikan tiada berlaku teknikal. Sebenarnya bila kita bermain dengan sistem, kadang-kadang sedikit error kita melibatkan satu kesilapan teknikal, melibatkan satu mungkin lupa nak letak rubrik kan, lupa nak setkan markah dan sebagainya. Seperti mana juga soalan daripada satu soalan lagi Cik Farhan daripada Ahmad Kelantan. Saya fikir ini adalah Dr. Ahmad kita, Ahmad Abdul Rahman. Dr. Ahmad Abdul Rahman, kalau boleh tik-tik tanpa kotak akhir yang perlu letak markah. Bila tik nak secara auto keluar markah. Apa komen? Saya rasa
macam mana boleh ulang balik Ustaz.
Kalau boleh tik-tik tanpa kotak akhir yang perlu letak markah. Bila tik nak secara auto keluar markah. Jadi perlu ada penjelasan ni daripada Dr. Ahmad. Saya rasa macam ni. Saya rasa soalan ini saya rasa memang bila kita set rubrik, kita dah set markah dia kan. Kolom pertama let's say kolom pertama 0.5, kolom kedua 1, kolom kedua 1.5 and so on. Once kita tick that particular column, kotak kan, dia define on that particular mark lah kan, without kita perlu set kan the overall or whatever the total of mark, dia automated calculated. Itu yang saya faham dan apa yang saya guna.
Cuma yang
isu kira balik lah.
Betul. Cuma isu yang saya mention tadi, untuk tadi yang single point tak ada masalah. Criterion tu, contohnya satu set criterion tu equals to 1 point. Cuma ada juga yang assessment yang melibatkan range of point, 0 to 1 to 5, 6 to 10 for example. So tadi saya dah bagi, saya ada one suggestion macam mana kita nak gunakan ini kalau kata kita ada range. Contoh kita gunakan criterion yang sama, tak ada masalah sebab ini bukan AI yang akan baca similar criterion, dia reject, tak. So kita letak je criterion yang sama. Contohnya range itu 1 hingga 5, kita letak criterion yang sama. Copy paste je. Satu criterion, contohnya 1 point. Criterion yang sama 2, criterion yang sama 3, criterion yang sama 4, criterion yang sama 5. Sebab benda ni tak boleh nak read the range. Dia boleh hanya read single point punya grade saja. Jadi untuk overcome that issue, itu yang saya suggestkan tadi. Kalau kata tak boleh juga, macam alah leceh lah nak copy paste satu-satu kan. Macam ni. Saya ada ni trick yang macam nakal sikit lah. Macam you just simply put there, you tak payah letak pun criterion itu. You just letak criterion tu A, B, C, D. Contohnya ada A, B, C, D, point 1 markah, markah 2 markah, 3 markah, 4 markah. You letak je alphabet kan. So dekat tepi you nanti manually lah you akan print out the the rubric again. So you akan tengok kat situ sebenarnya the detail of the criterion. The criteria you akan tengok kat situ. Tapi untuk menyenangkan kita sum up markah nanti, kita just klik dekat yang dalam sistem lah. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that would work untuk as far as the range is concerned. Sorry, saya tak dapat nak tunjukkan dengan kalau iPad yang boleh tunjuk, lagi senang kita nak tengok dekat sini sebenarnya. But I hope you get the gist lah kan.
Mungkin further mungkin kalau tadi technical ada sikit, kita nak connectkan, Cik Farhan nak connectkan iPad dia dengan laptop supaya kita boleh show sebenarnya dan boleh tunjuk bagaimana function iPad pen berfungsi, right, how to annotate dan sebagainya. Mungkin rakan-rakan insyaAllah kita cuba lepas ni, mungkin ada for the next session untuk lebih detail practically bagaimana annotate ini berfungsi, bukan saja dalam assessment, dan kita akan cuba tengok mungkin dalam test, essay test ke dan sebagainya kan. Sebab sebelum ini pernah juga ada soalan bertanya pada saya, Cik Farhan, bolehkah essay punya test ini ataupun assignment ni automated mark by the system?
Itu persoalan yang agak besar dan serius ya. Sebab saya kurang pasti sebab mungkin itu melibatkan AI. Kalau ada tool of AI, kalau kata Moodle boleh accept AI tool, mungkin tidak berapa jauh dari sekarang mungkin kita akan ada satu benda platform yang macam tu. Sebab saya kira kalau kata kita minta student hantar assignment, and then dia straight away by reading kalau untuk language learning punya proses, sekarang ni ada a few develop punya tool. Ada, tapi dia tak berapa robust lagi lah so far. Itu pun kita letak parameter. Contoh kalau kita nak assess on adjective as my case, kita letak a few adjective yang kita nak. So that will be the parameter as far as the AI akan kerja nantilah, will work nanti. Another issue dekat sini ialah alamak kalau student ni hantar, then how do we check all this plagiarism punya issue will that attach to this thing together macam ni. Kalau untuk itu saya suka gunakan plagiarism for example Turnitin report lah, sebab Turnitin report tu boleh letak dalam PDF. So what you can do dalam instruction assignment tu, you ask them to submit the Turnitin report in the system so that we know that they are actually sending us the right thing, not the one yang preliminary ke atau yang half cook punya assignment ke. So that could also help lah to overcome.
Saya nak tambah Cik Farhan, berkaitan Cik Farhan sebut tadi sikit je dalam 2 minit. Cik Farhan sebut tentang Turnitin report. Mungkin rakan-rakan mungkin ada yang terperasan dekat eCampus juga kita ada assignment Turnitin. Bila macam tadi Cik Farhan guna assignment function yang biasa kan. Kalau perasan ada satu lagi function assignment Turnitin. So di situ once student nak submit the assignment, dia assignment automated akan dicek oleh Turnitin report dan dia memang akan keluar terus reports the result of similarities from the student on the test. Jadi itu additional information berkaitan ni. Jadi insyaAllah terima kasih kepada semua Encik Farhan khususnya, orang kata orang lama well experienced dalam guru bahasa Inggeris di Fakulti Pengajian Bahasa dan Pembangunan Insan, dan juga memang suara Cik Farhan ni dah memang famous di UMK dalam pengacaraan program-program berprestij di UMK. Jadi kalau ramai yang sebelum ni dah rindu dah suara Cik Farhan kan sebagai MC yang berkaliber dan ni. Jadi insyaAllah selepas ini kita di PKPA menyambut baik pelaksanaan dan penggunaan rakan-rakan pensyarah ke arah memaksimalkan penggunaan eCampus dalam pelaksanaan PDP. Khususnya kita pun tidak boleh predik lagi kan sampai bila online learning akan berterusan. Dan mungkin 2-3 years coming pun memang kita akan teruskan macam ini, but kita di PKPA sangat menyokong penuh dan akan insyaAllah eCampus kita akan tambah baik dari semasa ke semasa seperti cadangan-cadangan. Memang kita di PKPA yang menjaga technical e-learning ini memerlukan banyak input kan. Kalau boleh sampai tim expert kita kata kalau boleh academician ni hancurkan eCampus. Maksud dia guna tu sampai rosak. That's mean bila rosak itulah bermakna kita boleh perbaiki dan tambah baik supaya berlaku sistem ini sistem eCampus kita ini boleh dimanfaatkan oleh warga UMK sebagai platform utama pengajaran dan pembelajaran dalam talian. Okey, saya rasa itu sahaja dan saya melihat komen dan feedback daripada rakan-rakan ini adalah satu good sharing, good info dan insyaAllah kita akan teruskan lagi mungkin siri yang kedua selepas ini dengan lebih detail secara practically. Dan terima kasih saya mewakili pihak PKPA mengucapkan jutaan terima kasih kepada Encik Farhan, Ni Ahmad Farhan bin Ni Azim daripada Pusat Pengajian Bahasa dan Fakulti Pengajian Bahasa dan Pembangunan Insan FBI di atas perkongsian pada petang ini. Alhamdulillah hampir sejam within the time, dan juga rakan-rakan para pendengar daripada staf akademik Universiti Malaysia Kelantan dan juga mungkin ada daripada universiti-universiti awam dan swasta yang lain. Saya akhiri sesi kita dengan wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.